At a crowded intersection, a poor black single father lunged into traffic and pressed his mouth against the lips of an unconscious stranger to save her life. The crowd froze. Cameras rose. Minutes later, the woman was rushed to the hospital while he was shoved aside like a suspect. By morning, the city erupted over a single headline. Poor black single dad kissed billionaire heiress. He had no idea that kiss was the only thing keeping her alive. But why did saving someone open the door to this nightmare? Malik Johnson had been standing behind his cart for 6 hours when the woman collapsed. The metal cart held bottled water on one side and roasted peanuts on the other. It was parked at the corner of 5th and Market, a spot he had claimed every weekday for the past 3 years. The cart was dented, the paint chipped, but it worked. It kept him alive. It kept his mother in medication and his son fed. He was 32 years old, but looked older. The sun had carved lines into his face that most men did not earn until their 40s. His hands were rough from pushing the cart uphill every morning before dawn. He wore the same gray hoodie most days because it had deep pockets and hid the fact that his jeans were fraying at the knees. People passed him without seeing him. That was fine. He was not looking to be seen. Across the city, in a glass tower overlooking the harbor, Aria Kingsley sat in a boardroom she did not want to be in. She was 26 years old and had never made a single decision about her own life. Her father decided where she went to school. Her father decided who she spoke to at charity galas. Her father decided when she smiled and when she stayed silent. The Kingsley Group owned commercial real estate in 14 countries, and Aria was expected to be its face, poised, polished, perfect. She had not slept in 2 days. Her chest felt tight, and her fingers were cold even though the room was warm. She excused herself from the meeting and walked toward the elevator. No one stopped her. No one ever stopped her. They assumed she was going to make a phone call or touch up her makeup. She stepped onto the street and started walking. She did not know where she was going. She just needed air. The intersection of 5th and Market was loud. Taxis honked. A street musician played a guitar with a broken string. A woman shouted into her phone. Malik handed a bottle of water to a jogger and counted the crumpled bills in his hand. $3. He tucked them into his pocket and glanced up at the crosswalk. That was when he saw her. She was standing at the edge of the sidewalk, one hand pressed to her chest. Her face was pale. Her knees buckled. Malik dropped the bill he was holding and started moving before he even realized what he was doing. She collapsed in the middle of the crosswalk. Cars screeched to a halt. Horns blared. People shouted. No one moved toward her. Malik ran. His cart was forgotten. His hoodie flapped behind him. He reached her in seconds and dropped to his knees. Her eyes were half open but unfocused. Her lips were turning blue. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck. No pulse. He tilted her head back and checked her airway. Clear. He started chest compressions immediately. Someone yelled for an ambulance. Someone else held up a phone and started recording. Malik did not hear any of it. He counted 30 compressions and leaned down to give her rescue breaths. His mouth covered hers. He exhaled twice. Her chest rose and fell. He went back to compressions. 30 more. 2 breaths. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. The crowd pressed closer. Phones were everywhere now. A man in a suit shouted that someone should pull Malik off her. A woman said he was hurting her. Malik ignored them. He kept going. His arms burned. Sweat dripped down his face. He gave her 2 more breaths. Her body jerked. She gasped. Her eyes flew open. Malik sat back on his heels, breathing hard. She was alive. The ambulance arrived 3 minutes later. Paramedics rushed toward her with a stretcher and equipment. One of them pushed Malik aside without looking at him. Another snapped at him to get out of the way. Malik stood up slowly. His hands were shaking. He watched them load her onto the stretcher and disappear into the ambulance. The siren wailed. The crowd began to disperse. Malik walked back to his cart. His legs felt weak. His chest was tight. He picked up the bottle of water that had fallen and set it back on the cart. His hands were still shaking. A man in a business suit approached him and held out a phone. The screen showed a video. Malik leaning over the woman, his mouth on hers. The angle made it look wrong. The man smirked and walked away without saying a word. Malik pushed his cart home that evening with a hollow feeling in his chest. He lived in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 4th floor of a building with no elevator. His mother was asleep on the couch when he came in. The television was on, but muted. Bottles of medication sat on the table beside her. He covered her with a blanket and went to check on his son. Noah was 6 years old and already asleep. Malik stood in the doorway and watched him breathe. He thought about the woman at the intersection. He wondered if she was okay. By morning, the city knew her name. Aria Kingsley, heiress to the Kingsley Group, daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the country. The video had gone viral overnight. It was everywhere, on the news, on social media, in the headlines of every major outlet. But the story they told was not the one Malik remembered. The headline read, "Poor black single dad kissed billionaire heiress." The video had been edited. The chest compressions were gone. Only the breaths remained. The comment sections exploded. People called him a predator, a criminal, a man who saw an opportunity and took it. No one mentioned that she had been dying. No one mentioned that he had saved her life. Malik's phone rang at 7 in the morning. It was a blocked number. He answered it. A man's voice came through, calm and cold. The man said his name was Gerald, and he worked for the Kingsley family. He said Malik needed to stay away from Aria. He said the family would be watching. He said if Malik spoke to the press, there would be consequences. The line went dead before Malik could respond. He went to his cart that morning, like he always did. But when he reached the corner of 5th and Market, the cart was gone. He stood in the empty space and stared at the pavement. Someone had stolen it. Everything he owned was in that cart. His cooler, his inventory, the cash box he kept hidden under the false bottom. $300. Gone. A woman walking her dog glanced at him and crossed to the other side of the street. A man in a jogging suit spat on the ground as he passed. Malik pulled his hood up and walked home. He sat on the steps outside his building and tried to think. He had no cart, no inventory, no way to make money. His mother needed medication that cost $80 a week. Noah needed new shoes. The rent was due in 12 days. He pulled out his phone and opened a job search app. He applied to 10 positions: dishwasher, warehouse worker, janitor, delivery driver. He heard nothing back. By the end of the week, he had applied to 47 jobs. Not a single callback. His face was too recognizable now. His name had become a warning. Malik was a single father who had tried to save a woman's life. Now, he had to choose. Stay silent and let the world believe he was a monster, or speak up and risk losing everything he had left. The grocery store manager looked at Malik's application for 8 seconds before sliding it back across the counter. He did not say anything. He did not have to. Malik folded the paper and walked out. The sun was setting. He had been walking all day. His feet hurt. His phone battery was at 4%. He had applied to 60 jobs in 2 weeks. Not one interview, not one callback, not even a rejection email. He stopped at a convenience store and bought a pack of instant noodles with the last few dollars in his pocket. The cashier recognized him. Her eyes went wide. She dropped his change on the counter instead of handing it to him. Malik picked up the coins without looking at her and left. Outside, 2 teenagers were staring at their phones. One of them looked up, saw Malik, and elbowed his friend. They both laughed. Malik kept walking. At home, his mother was coughing again. She sat in the kitchen with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, even though the room was warm. The medication bottles on the table were almost empty. Malik had been rationing them for days, giving her half doses to make them last. It was not enough. She needed refills. The refills cost $80. He had $12 left. His mother looked at him when he came in. Her voice was hoarse. She asked him if he had eaten. Malik told her he was fine. She asked him if anyone had called about a job. He said not yet. She reached out and squeezed his hand. Her skin felt thin and cold. She told him things would get better. Malik nodded. He did not believe her. Noah was in his room doing homework. Malik stood in the doorway and watched him for a moment. The boy's backpack was torn at the seam. His sneakers had holes in the soles. He was wearing a jacket that was 2 sizes too small because Malik could not afford a new one. Noah looked up and smiled. He asked his father if they could get pizza for dinner. Malik told him maybe tomorrow. The boy's smile faded, but he did not complain. He went back to his homework. Malik went to the bathroom and locked the door. He sat on the edge of the tub and put his head in his hands. He had not cried in years. Not when his wife left. Not when he lost his job at the warehouse. Not when he started sleeping on a friend's couch with Noah in his arms. But now, sitting in the bathroom of a cramped apartment with no money and no options, he felt something break inside him. He pulled out his phone and opened social media. The video was still everywhere. Thousands of comments. Most of them called him a monster, a predator, a man who deserved to be in prison. Some of them were worse. They posted his address. They posted his mother's name. They posted pictures of Noah. Malik's hands shook. He deleted the app and threw the phone on the floor. Across the city, Richard Kingsley sat in his office on the 52nd floor. The room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. He had been on the phone for 3 hours. The merger with the European conglomerate was worth $4.2 billion. It was the largest deal in the company's history. It was also falling apart. The board of directors in Brussels had seen the video. They had seen the headlines. They had questions. Richard reassured them. He told them it was a misunderstanding. He told them the situation was being handled. He told them the Kingsley name would not be tarnished. They said they would wait 1 more week before making a decision. Richard hung up and loosened his tie. His assistant knocked on the door and stepped inside. She handed him a folder. Inside were printed screenshots of social media posts, news articles, and internal memos from the PR team. Richard flipped through them. The narrative was holding. The public believed Malik was dangerous. The police had opened an investigation. No charges had been filed yet, but the pressure was building. Richard closed the folder and handed it back. He told his assistant to contact the head of PR. He wanted another statement released by morning. Something stronger. Something that made it clear the family was the victim here. She nodded and left. Richard leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. He was not a cruel man. He did not enjoy destroying people. But he had built an empire, and he would do whatever it took to protect it, even if it meant sacrificing a man who had done nothing wrong. Aria woke up in a private hospital room with no memory of how she got there. The walls were white. The blinds were drawn. A heart monitor beeped beside her bed. Her chest ached. Her throat was dry. She pressed the call button. A nurse came in and told her she had been unconscious for 2 days. Aria asked what happened. The nurse said she had gone into cardiac arrest. Someone had performed CPR. The paramedics arrived just in time. Aria asked who had performed CPR. The nurse hesitated. She said she did not know. Aria asked again. The nurse left the room. A doctor came in an hour later. He checked her vitals and asked how she was feeling. Aria told him she wanted to know who saved her. The doctor said it was not important. What mattered was that she was alive. Aria did not argue, but she remembered something. A face, a man's face, leaning over her, breathing air into her lungs. Her father came to visit that evening. He brought flowers and sat in the chair beside her bed. He held her hand and told her how worried he had been. He said the whole family had been praying for her. He said she needed to rest and recover. He said the media was asking questions, but he had taken care of it. Aria asked what he meant. Richard told her not to worry. He said there had been an incident, but it was resolved. Aria asked what kind of incident. Richard smiled and changed the subject. 2 days later, Aria was discharged. She went back to her penthouse apartment overlooking the harbor. It was clean and quiet and empty. She turned on her phone for the first time since the collapse. Hundreds of messages, missed calls, emails. She scrolled through them and stopped when she saw a news headline. She clicked on it. The video started playing. She watched herself fall. She watched a man run toward her. She watched him press his hands to her chest. She watched him lean down and breathe into her mouth. The headline read, "Poor black single dad kissed billionaire heiress." Aria replayed the video. She watched the chest compressions. She watched the rescue breaths. She watched the man's face. He was not kissing her. He was saving her life. She scrolled through the comments. They were vicious. They called him names. They said he should be arrested. Aria's stomach turned. She called her father. He answered on the second ring. She asked him if he had seen the video. He said he had. She asked him why the media was calling it a kiss. Richard told her it was complicated. Aria said it was not complicated. The man had saved her life. Richard told her to stay out of it. Aria asked why. Richard said the merger was at stake. He said the board needed to see strength, not scandal. He said if the public thought some stranger had assaulted his daughter, the deal would collapse. Aria said the stranger had not assaulted her. He had saved her. Richard said that was not how it looked. Aria said it did not matter how it looked. What mattered was the truth. Richard's voice grew cold. He told her the truth was whatever the public believed. He told her to rest and let him handle it. He hung up before she could respond. Aria sat on her couch and stared at her phone. She replayed the video again. The man's face was clear now. She could see the desperation in his eyes, the way his hands moved with precision, the way he did not stop even when the crowd yelled at him. He had risked everything to save her, and her father had destroyed him for it. She searched his name online. Malik Johnson, 32 years old, single father, street vendor, no criminal record. She found his address in one of the doxing posts. She wrote it down. She did not know what she was going to do yet, but she knew she could not stay silent. Malik borrowed money from a neighbor to buy his mother's medication. The neighbor was an older woman who lived alone on the second floor. She handed him $100 without asking questions. Malik promised to pay her back. She told him not to worry about it. He knew she did not have much either. He took the money and went to the pharmacy. His mother's condition was getting worse. The cough had turned into something deeper. Her breathing was shallow. She could not stand for more than a few minutes without sitting down. Malik called the clinic and made an appointment for the following week. The receptionist told him the visit would cost $250 without insurance. Malik said he would figure it out. He hung up and stared at the wall. He tried to pawn his watch. It was the only thing of value he owned. His wife had given it to him before she left. The pawn shop owner offered him $20. Malik took it. He tried to pawn his phone next. The owner offered him $15. Malik kept the phone. He needed it to look for work. Days passed. His mother stopped eating. She said she was not hungry. Malik knew she was lying. She was trying to save food for him and Noah. He made her eat anyway. He sat with her at the table and watched her take small bites of soup. She fell asleep in her chair. Malik carried her to the couch and covered her with a blanket. She felt lighter than before. That night, Malik woke up to the sound of his mother coughing. It was a wet, choking sound. He ran to her room. She was sitting up in bed, gasping for air. Her lips were pale. Malik called 911. The ambulance took 20 minutes to arrive. By the time they got her to the hospital, her breathing had stabilized. The doctor said she had pneumonia. She needed to be admitted. She needed antibiotics. She needed round-the-clock care. Malik asked how much it would cost. The doctor said the hospital would work with him. Malik knew what that meant. He sat in the waiting room with his head in his hands. Noah was asleep on the chair beside him. The boy had cried in the ambulance. Malik had told him everything would be okay. He did not know if that was true. His mother died 3 days later. The infection had spread too fast. The antibiotics were not strong enough. Malik was holding her hand when it happened. She looked at him and smiled. She told him he was a good son. She told him to take care of Noah. She told him she loved him. Then she closed her eyes and stopped breathing. Malik sat beside her bed for a long time. The nurses came in and asked if he needed anything. He shook his head. They left him alone. He did not cry. He did not scream. He just sat there, holding his mother's hand, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. The funeral was small. Malik could not afford a casket. He had her cremated instead. The urn sat on the kitchen table for days. Malik could not bring himself to put it away. Noah asked when Grandma was coming back. Malik told him she was not. The boy cried. Malik held him and stared at the wall. He stopped looking for work. He stopped answering his phone. He stopped leaving the apartment except to walk Noah to school. The rent was overdue. The landlord left notices on the door. Malik tore them down and threw them away. He did not care anymore. One evening, he stood on the roof of his building. The city stretched out below him. Lights flickered in the distance. Cars moved like ants on the streets. Malik stood at the edge and looked down. It would be easy. One step. Everything would be over. Noah would go to foster care. Maybe that was better. Maybe the boy deserved a father who was not broken. A voice came from behind him. It was soft, but firm. Aria Kingsley stood a few feet away. She had found him. She asked him to step back. Malik did not move. She walked closer. She said she knew who he was. She said she knew what he had done. She said if he had not kissed her, she would be dead. Malik turned and looked at her. His eyes were empty. He said his mother was dead. He said it was his fault. If he had not saved Aria, none of this would have happened. His mother would still be alive. Aria shook her head. She said his mother would be proud of him. She said he had done the right thing. She said the world was wrong, not him. Malik looked at her for a long time. Then he stepped back from the edge. He sat down on the roof and put his head in his hands. Aria sat beside him. She did not say anything. She just stayed with him until the sun came up. Aria did not go home that night. She stayed on the roof with Malik until the sky turned gray and the city began to wake. They did not talk much. She told him about the hospital, about waking up with no memory, about the video, about her father. Malik listened without interrupting. When she finished, he told her about his mother, about the medication he could not afford, about the funeral he could barely pay for, about standing on this roof an hour ago, ready to step off. Aria looked at him. She said she was sorry. Malik said it was not her fault. She said it was her father's fault. Malik said that did not change anything. His mother was still gone. His son still had no future. His name was still poison. Aria told him she could fix it. Malik laughed. It was a hollow sound. He said nothing could fix this. She said she could try. They left the roof together as the sun came up. Aria called her lawyer from the stairwell. She told him to meet her at her apartment in 2 hours. She told him to bring everything he had on defamation law. The lawyer asked what this was about. Aria said she would explain later. She hung up and turned to Malik. She asked if he trusted her. Malik said he did not know her. Aria said that was fair. She asked if he wanted the truth to come out. Malik said yes. She said then he needed to trust her. The lawyer arrived at 9 in the morning. His name was David, and he had worked for the Kingsley family for 12 years. He carried a leather briefcase and wore a suit that cost more than Malik's rent. He looked at Malik with barely concealed suspicion. Aria told him to sit down. She told him everything: the cardiac arrest, the CPR, the rescue breaths, the way her father had twisted the story to protect the merger. David listened without expression. When she finished, David set his briefcase on the table and opened it. He pulled out a contract and slid it across to Malik. He said if Malik signed this, the Kingsley family would pay him $5 million. In exchange, Malik would agree never to speak about the incident, never to contact Aria, never to file a lawsuit, never to tell his side of the story. The money would be transferred within 24 hours. Malik would disappear. The scandal would fade. Everyone would move on. Malik stared at the contract. $5 million. He could pay off his debts. He could move somewhere new. He could give Noah a real future. He picked up the pen. Aria reached across the table and put her hand over his. She told him not to sign it. Malik looked at her. She said if he signed, her father would win. The truth would stay buried. Malik said he did not care about the truth anymore. He cared about his son. Aria said her father was counting on that. He was counting on Malik being desperate enough to take the money and disappear. She said if Malik signed, nothing would change. Her father would keep manipulating people, keep destroying lives, keep getting away with it. Malik said that was not his problem. Aria said it was everyone's problem. She asked him what kind of world he wanted his son to grow up in. A world where the truth mattered, or a world where money could bury anything. Malik set the pen down. He looked at David and told him he was not signing. David closed the briefcase and stood up. He told Aria she was making a mistake. She said it would not be her first. David left without another word. Aria turned to Malik. She said they needed to go public. Malik asked how. She said a press conference. Live. No edits. No spin. Just the truth. Malik said no one would believe him. Aria said they would believe her. She said she would tell the world exactly what happened. She would show the unedited video. She would present medical records proving she had been in cardiac arrest. She would make it impossible for her father to twist the story. Malik asked what would happen to her. Aria said she did not know. She said her father would probably disown her. She said the family would cut her off. She said she was fine with that. Malik asked why she was doing this. Aria said because it was the right thing to do. Malik said most people did not care about the right thing. Aria said she used to be one of those people. Then she woke up in a hospital bed because a stranger decided her life was worth saving. She said the least she could do was return the favor. The press conference was scheduled for 3 days later. Aria's team rented a conference room in a downtown hotel. They sent invitations to every major news outlet. They promised a statement from Aria Kingsley regarding the viral video. The media showed up in droves. Cameras lined the back wall. Reporters filled every seat. The room buzzed with anticipation. Malik stood backstage with Aria. His hands were shaking. He had not slept in 2 days. He was wearing a borrowed suit that did not fit right. Aria had insisted he look presentable. She said the media would judge him based on appearance. Malik said they had already judged him. Aria said this was his chance to change their minds. She went over the plan one more time. She would speak first. She would explain what happened. She would show the evidence. Then Malik would speak. He would tell his story. He would explain what he had lost. He would let people see him as a human being, not a headline. Aria asked if he was ready. Malik said no. She said that was okay. She squeezed his hand and walked on stage. The cameras flashed as Aria stepped up to the podium. She looked calm, composed. Every inch the heiress the world expected her to be. She thanked everyone for coming. She said she had a statement to make regarding the incident at 5th and Market 3 weeks ago. The room went silent. Aria said the video that had gone viral was misleading. She said the man in the video, Malik Johnson, had not kissed her. He had saved her life. She said she had gone into cardiac arrest in the middle of an intersection. She said Malik had performed CPR. She said the rescue breaths were a standard part of the procedure. She said without his intervention, she would be dead. She held up a tablet and played the full, unedited video. The room watched in silence. The chest compressions were clear. The rescue breaths were clinical. There was nothing inappropriate about it. Aria set the tablet down and continued. She said her father, Richard Kingsley, had known the truth from the beginning. She said he had chosen to distort it to protect a business deal. She said Malik had lost his livelihood, his reputation, and his mother because of that lie. A reporter shouted a question. Aria ignored it. She said she wasn't here to answer questions. She was here to tell the truth. She stepped aside and gestured for Malik to join her. He walked on stage. The cameras turned on him. He stood at the podium and looked out at the sea of faces. His throat was dry. His heart was pounding. Malik said his name. He said he was 32 years old. He said he was a father. He said 3 weeks ago he saw a woman collapse in the street. He said he did not think about who she was or what it might cost him. He just ran. He said he had been taught that you help people when they need it. That was what his mother had taught him. That was what he wanted to teach his son. He said after he saved Aria's life, his world fell apart. His cart was stolen. He lost his income. No one would hire him. People spat at him on the street. His mother could not afford her medication. She got sick. She died before he could prove his innocence. Malik's voice cracked. He said he had spent the last week wondering if he had made a mistake, wondering if he should have just walked away, wondering if his mother would still be alive if he had done nothing. He said he did not have an answer to that. He said all he knew was that he had tried to do the right thing. He said the world had punished him for it. He said he was here because Aria Kingsley believed the truth mattered. He said he hoped she was right. He stepped back from the podium. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Aria stepped forward and held up her hand. She said there would be no questions. She said the evidence spoke for itself. She said anyone who wanted to verify the facts could contact her legal team. She turned and walked off stage. Malik followed. They made it halfway down the hall before the door behind them slammed open. Richard Kingsley stood in the doorway. His face was red. His tie was loose. He looked at Aria and told her to get back inside. She kept walking. He grabbed her arm. She pulled away. He said she had just destroyed the family. She said he had done that himself. Richard turned to Malik. He said Malik had no idea what he had just done. He said the Kingsley Group employed thousands of people. He said the merger would have secured their futures. He said Malik had thrown that away for what? Pride? Malik said he threw it away for the truth. Richard laughed. He said the truth did not pay bills. It did not feed families. It did not build empires. He pulled out his phone and held it up. He said he could still make this go away. He said he would wire Malik $5 million right now. He would add another $2 million for Aria if she recanted her statement. He said all they had to do was walk back inside and tell the media this was a misunderstanding. He said they could all move on. No one had to lose anything. Malik looked at the phone. He thought about Noah, about the apartment they were about to lose, about the future his son deserved. He thought about his mother, about the way she had looked at him in the hospital, about the last words she had said. He looked at Richard and said no. Richard's expression hardened. He said Malik was making the biggest mistake of his life. Malik said he had already made that mistake when he saved Aria. Richard said he would make sure Malik regretted it. He would bury him. He would make sure no one ever hired him. He would make sure his son grew up knowing his father was a fool. Malik said at least his son would know his father had integrity. Richard turned and walked away. The fallout was immediate. The story exploded across every platform. The unedited video went viral. Medical experts confirmed that Malik had performed CPR correctly. Legal analysts called for an investigation into Richard Kingsley's actions. The board of directors for the European conglomerate released a statement terminating the merger. They said they could not do business with a company that manipulated the truth. Richard Kingsley was forced to step down as CEO. The board voted him out in an emergency meeting. The company's stock dropped 18% in a single day. Internal emails were leaked, showing that Richard had coordinated with the PR team to distort the story. A criminal investigation was opened. Richard hired a team of lawyers. He released a statement denying any wrongdoing. No one believed him. Malik was flooded with interview requests. He declined all of them. A legal aid organization reached out and offered to represent him pro bono. They filed a defamation lawsuit against the Kingsley Group. The case settled out of court 6 months later. Malik received $2.3 million. He used part of it to pay off his debts. He set up a trust fund for Noah. He donated $100,000 to the clinic that had treated his mother. Aria was cut off from the family fortune. Her father refused to speak to her. Her mother called once and said she was disappointed. Aria did not call back. She moved out of her penthouse and into a modest apartment. She used her savings to start a legal defense fund for people who had been falsely accused because of racial or economic bias. She named it after Malik's mother. Malik stood at his mother's grave on a cold morning in November. He placed a bouquet of white flowers on the stone. The inscription read her name and the years she had lived. Malik knelt down and touched the stone. He said he had done what she asked. He had taken care of Noah. He had told the truth. He said he hoped she was proud. He stood up and walked back to his car. Noah was waiting in the passenger seat. The boy looked at him and asked if Grandma was watching. Malik said yes. Noah asked if she was happy. Malik said he thought so. They drove home in silence. Aria called him that evening. She said the fund had received its first case. A single mother in Detroit had been wrongly accused of theft. She had lost her job. Her kids were in foster care. Aria asked if Malik wanted to help. He said yes. She said she would send him the details. She thanked him. Malik said she did not need to thank him. She said she did. A misunderstood kiss had nearly destroyed a man. But the truth had saved 2 lives.